Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Allergy Friday. We have today absolutely brilliant guest, Professor Ruta Dubakiene from Vilnius University. She is a very experienced clinical immunologist and allergologist. She is author of a few textbooks. She is also lecturing to undergraduate and postgraduate students in Lithuania, and she is doing some unique allergy research. So today we will have Professor Ruta Dubakiene talking for us about her brilliant research, allergy research in Lithuania, and at the end we will also be able to ask a couple of questions. So welcome, Professor Ruta Dubakiene, and I'll just start sharing the slides. Just bear with me a minute.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and it will be very nice to cooperate with you. And today I'll present our data from the big project of the Lithuanian National Council on allergy. I'll speak about molecular markers of allergy in Lithuanian birth cohort, Lergomol. Uh, the birth cohort. And as we know, allergic diseases are deficiency diseases of the immune system. And for example, in the Western Europe, or especially in the Western world, it is diagnosed about one fifth, it's about 20 or 25% of population. And we know that the risk factors are genetic susceptibility, environment, and several studies on allergy cohorts, especially birth cohorts, were performed in Western countries. And we are proud that we have the first Eastern European cohort on allergy. It, and also we were participating Vilnius University, the Europe Laval project, and also we created Allergomol as a part of a national Lithuanian program on non-infectious diseases funded by the Lithuanian Science Council, and we cooperated together with Biotechnology Institute with Professor Aurelia Žvirblienė also. So let's see our aim. And the main aim was in that current project to evaluate some molecular and genetic markers of allergy in Lithuanian uh, and and correlations that predispose to the development of allergic diseases. And we to speak about the allergomol is the birth cohort. It was constructed under the Pan-European EU funded study in Framework 6 program, and it was performed in 9 European countries, included Iceland, United Kingdom, Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Spain, Italy, Greece, and Lithuania, and total 20,000 babies. In our Lithuanian part, we have 1,556 eight babies, and study design was such a we have selected study groups. It was first one was the telephone interview, and we then have some answers about asthma, food allergy, or non-allergy. Uh, then we invited the that participators participants to the study center. Then we are examining, and for example, for one um, case, we have two controls. And for example, for suspected asthma, it was a physical examination, skin prick test, blood sera, and for specific IgE, spirometry, and so on. A lot of findings. And for example, for suspected food allergy, was some differences. But also first one was clinical immunization, then skin prick tests and blood sera for the specific IgE, and also the finished the last diagnostic method was provocation tests, food allergens. So our total, as I say, we have on 1,558 babies, mothers, of course, the first, and 1,341 agreed to participate, and it is a nice percent because 88% were evaluated, and refusal was very small, as you see in the slide. By telephone interview, we have such diseases. They reported bronchial asthma and then wheezing, urticaria, drug allergy, allergic rhinitis, but as you see in a very small percent, uh, and we have some differences between boys and girls. As you see, the boys are more affected by allergy and the girls are less. Then we have uh, here you see they were tested by the skin prick test for some allergens. And for example, in Lithuania, the main indoor allergen is the house dust mite. And you see, we have the, but the absolute numbers were very small enough. But it was the main, to see, allergen among the others. Um, that data were get when the babies were uh, five from 5 to 7 years in age. Yes, and for example, a rash in the skin. It was very great. About half of all the participants, but mainly it was atopic dermatitis. But we must know that atopic dermatitis, it is not non-allergic mostly, and allergic atopic dermatitis is, for example, Lithuania 10 20%. So also we have difference between girls and boys. In rash cases, the girls were more affected. Then we studied uh, selected groups of the symptomatic children, of course, number 33, and control group was identical, 34. We studied a lot of immunological markers and methods of detection. You see, we have some markers, CD3, and method we use flow cytometry and immunoferment analysis and so on. And we studied some cytokines and in immunological detection. You will see in this scheme, in this picture, and you could study that one. Of course, allergy markers uh, they were performed on immunocap, on Fadia, now Thermo Fisher, and we studied specific, not only specific Ig against the allergen, but also specific IgG4, IgE specific in blood sera. And in some cases, we couldn't compare because there are very few, only one or two papers in the scientific literature. And we studied also the most extent was done to the dermatophogeus peronissinus and mite and egg. For example, cardiac mechanisms, we have patient blood serum with the IgE, then allergen is coupled to immunocap, then conjugate and patient Ig bound to immunocap antigen, then we have added fluorescent substrate, and then conjugate bound to patient IgE, and at last the conjugate is conjugate enzyme reacts with the substrate and formed as fluorescent product which is measured. Uh, Now let's see our data. And as you see in symptomatic group, it, the blue color controls are yellow. Uh, the difference was mainly in all the groups, and especially you could see that more than 90% were skin prick test positive to the dermatopoiesis steronesis. And and of course, statistically it was very comparable. Now, sensitivity to house dust mite allergen in cohorts also was very great to compare specific IgE controls with the symptomatics, but it's very interesting data that a specific IgG4 level was the same in the both studied groups. And of course, we explain that for example, we have a lot of wheezing child, similar as an asthma, but we have negative skin prick test and non-specific IgE. But so we think that it is such a prolonged, maybe specific bronchial asthma that has another mechanisms, not uh, acute this allergic reactions. Uh, we studied also immunological markers, cytokine level, and in blood cell cultures. And of course, no difference between study groups we haven't found. But in some cases, for example, interleukin 13 uh, increases in food allergy, we know, and cytokine interleukin 9 is participating in inflammatory allergic reactions also. Uh, then we, in the next slide, you could see cell markers by the flow cytometry, and also a lot maybe differences we haven't found and see, but some differences were between study and control group according to CD14 level. And so we see that in the next slide, of course, we could do conclusions on that bronchial asthma was revealed in less part of the cohort in only 1.8% cohort participants. And of course, some genetic immunological investigations were performed, and some data have been found. And for example, it was stated that sensitization to egg and dermatopoiesis steronesis allergens more frequently are were detected in the group of symptomatic children as compared to the control group. So that data now, this cohort is studied then, and we found some increased levels of specific IgG antibodies against dermatopoiesis steronesis allergens in both groups. And we think that it might be considered as a predictive marker for the later development of allergic bronchial asthma. I think it's new one, how to say, new point to this problem. And then we analysis of molecular immunological markers also revealed some increased number of CDD14 positive cells compared to the symptomatic and control group. And we think that it is due to the immunological differences and the largest study groups. Of course, it is necessary to define that genetic and environmental risk factors uh, associated with allergy. It is are very of course, we must study the development of asthma in the Lithuanian population. So we are doing now, and we could present some data maybe about the genetic factors and its unit data, and so we our to say input in the problem of the allergy as from our small country to this whole world to say uh, problem. We are very proud that we could do such studies. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Professor Dubakiene for a wonderful presentation. I'll now stop sharing the slides and we will have a couple of minutes for some questions. So obviously, just to reflect briefly on the slides, it is a fantastic piece of information, not only about the unique research in one of the European countries, Lithuania, but also there are perfect points for you guys to reflect on your learning aims, especially the points about diagnostics, about the molecular markers, cytokines and cells involved in the reaction. So please have a look and focus on these points in the slides, all right? And now we just have a couple of questions to Professor Dubakiene, and this is in relation to the allergy information cards that we are doing together. We would like to ask Professor Dubakiene, as an experienced clinical allergologist and immunologist, we would like to ask for some tips what we should put on our allergy information cards. So mainly we have two questions. We want to know about the major allergens in Lithuania, and also we want to know what are the main information points that we should be putting on our allergy information cards, please.
As we, for example, in the spring, the main allergens are the trees allergens, and I think it's hazel, then alder, then oak, maybe maple, and so on. And so, then, for example, in the May and July in Lithuania is the grass pollen season, and we have Timothy grass, meadow grass, then a lot of grass. And in, for example, in August of the main allergy is a mugwort, and I would like to say that, for example, in the Europe study, in another past, we were studied the correlation between food allergens and pollen, and it was very interesting that, for example, the main sensitivity, the most biggest sensitivity of the hazelnut especially, is among the Europeans is in Lithuania, and also the same with the mugwort pollen allergen. Maybe there are some, I think it is similarities because due to the climate, maybe differences, or it is in the United Kingdom and Lithuania, and we found, of course, and different and the same trees and allergens. When we are speaking about the indoor allergen, the main allergen is the house dust mite. I think in the United Kingdom is the same, because if you have, for example, if you are near the sea, and if you are all the land and you are surrounded all the, all the from the other from all the in the sea, you see. So a lot of how this my problem could be also. I mean, no, when we are speaking of the molds, Lithuania, it's also is a problem. For example, Aspergillus niger and Alternaria, Fusarium, and others. Also, that such animal allergens such as cats and dogs and rabbits and guinea pigs also is a problem. And among, for example, I could it's very interesting that, for example, among the healthy population, we have about 30% sensitivity to house dust mite. Uh, so that's the main allergens.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much to Professor Dubakiene for such a wonderful presentation and letting us know about this unique research project in Lithuania. And thank you for the tips for our allergy information cards. So thank you very much for everybody listening to that presentation as well. I guess I'll end my recording here. Thank you very much once again for everybody participating.